You've seen it 100 times. The battered hero, caked in mud, stumbles through the wasteland with a gleaming machete, a tactical backpack, and a liver that never runs out of fuel. Hollywood loves its survival gear, shiny, indestructible, and always just what the plot needs. But here's the uncomfortable truth. If you ever find yourself in a real collapse, half the gear you've seen on screen will betray you faster than a hungry rat in a locked pantry. Today, we're exposing 20-plus pieces of survival gear Hollywood constantly gets wrong. From the iconic Rambo knife to the magical Zippo, the bottomless tactical backpack, all the way to the lone wolf fantasy. Stick around till the end, because the most dangerous myth isn't a piece of gear at all. Let's kick things off with the classics, the Big Seven. First up, the infamous survival knife. In movies, it's always a foot long, serrated, and apparently forged from the same stuff as Thor's hammer. The hero uses it to chop wood, skin game, pry open doors, and occasionally deflect bullets. But in reality, that Rambo knife is a liability. Try batoning firewood with a hollow-handled sawback monstrosity, and you'll snap the blade or shatter your hand. Real survivalists know a sturdy, fixed-blade knife with a full tang, meaning the metal runs through the handle, is your best friend. It's not glamorous, but it won't fail you when you're shivering, hungry, and desperate for kindling. The sawback? Useless for anything but snagging on your pack. And those hollow handles stuffed with fishing line and matches, they compromise the strength of the blade. If you want to survive, leave the movie knives to the prop department and get yourself a tool, not a toy. So tell me in the comments, do you still carry a hollow handle knife or have you switched to a full tang? Next, let's torch another myth. Literally, the trusty Zippo lighter, flicked open with a flourish, always seems to spark a roaring blaze in the rain, snow, or howling wind. But here's what nobody tells you. Zippos leak fuel, Bic lighters freeze, and matches get soggy. In the real world, fire is a fickle, stubborn beast. Ferrocerium rods, those little metal sticks you scrape with a knife, are the unsung heroes of fire starting. They work wet, cold, or after months in your pack. But even then, you need dry tinder, and movies never show the hour you'll spend hunting for something that'll actually catch a spark. Cotton balls soaked in petroleum jelly, birch bark, or even dryer lint. These are the real MVPs of fire starting, not the lighter that's been in your pocket since the opening credits. Ever tried starting a fire in the rain? Drop your best fire starting hack in the comments. Now let's talk water. In movies, the hero finds a crystal clear stream, scoops up a handful, and drinks deep, looking stoic and refreshed. In reality, that's a one-way ticket to a week of gut-wrenching misery courtesy of Giardia or Cryptosporidium. Hollywood never shows the diarrhea. Real survival means treating every drop. Those fancy pump filters and UV pens look great on camera, but they're fragile, heavy, and useless when they break. The real workhorses are simple: boiling water, chemical tablets, or gravity-fed bag filters. Boiling is foolproof. If you can make a fire, you can make water safe. Chemical tablets are light, last forever, and don't care if you drop them in the mud. And gravity filters? They let you rest while physics does the work. Forget the dramatic waterfall scene. The real drama is waiting 30 minutes for iodine to kill the bugs in your canteen. Let's move to the tactical backpack. In every movie, it's bottomless. The hero pulls out rope, a tent, a med kit, and a week's worth of food, all from a bag that never seems to weigh more than a feather. In real life, every ounce counts. The wrong pack will rub your shoulders raw, throw out your back, and leave you cursing every unnecessary gadget you thought you needed. The best survivalists are ruthless minimalists. They know that comfort is a luxury, and redundancy is dead weight. A good pack is simple, tough, and fits your body. It's not about looking cool, it's about not collapsing after 10 miles. And those moly straps and tactical pouches, they snag on branches and slow you down. The real pros strip their gear to the bone, carrying only what they can't improvise or replace. Let's not forget the first aid kit. In movies, it's a magical box that cures everything, from gunshot wounds to snake bites. Slap on a bandage, inject some morphine, and you're back in the fight. But in the real world, first aid is about prevention, not heroics. Infection is the real killer, not dramatic injuries. A few sterile dressings, some antibiotic ointment, and a roll of tape will save more lives than a Hollywood trauma kit. And forget the adrenaline shots and surgical tools. Unless you're a doctor, you'll do more harm than good. The best medicine is not getting hurt in the first place. That means boots that fit, gloves that protect, and the humility to know when to rest. Night falls, and here comes the Hollywood flashlight. Blindingly bright, never-ending batteries, and apparently indestructible. But batteries die, bulbs break, and darkness is relentless. The real survivors use headlamps with low power settings, spare batteries, and most importantly, discipline. Light discipline. In a real collapse, light is a beacon, a target, and a drain on your resources. Red filters preserve your night vision and keep you hidden. And sometimes, the best light is no light at all. Let your eyes adjust, move slow, and trust your instincts. The movies never show the terror of stumbling blind through the woods, but that's the reality when your battery's dry. Finally, let's talk about food. Hollywood loves the image of the hero roasting a rabbit over a roaring fire or pulling a can of beans from their pack. But real survival food is boring, bland, and brutally efficient. High calorie, low bulk, and shelf stable. Forget hunting, unless you're an expert, you'll burn more calories chasing game than you'll ever recover. The real survivors pack dense foods, nuts, jerky, hardtack, and energy bars. And when that runs out, it's about foraging. Dandelions, tacktails, acorns. Not glamorous, but it keeps you alive. The movies never show the days of hunger, the gnawing emptiness, and the slow, grinding fatigue. But that's the truth of survival. It's not about heroics, it's about endurance. Okay, we just destroyed the classic Hollywood gear, but the rabbit hole goes deeper. These next ones are even more dangerous because they seem practical until they fail you when it matters most. Let's talk multi-tools. In movies, they're the Swiss Army solution to every problem. Fix a car, build a shelter, perform minor surgery, all with one shiny gadget. But most multi-tools are jack of all trades, master of none. Try sawing through a branch with that 2-inch blade, and you'll be there until the next ice age. The pliers? Good for fishing hooks maybe, but useless for real repairs. In the wild, reliability trumps versatility. A solid fixed-blade knife and a real saw, yes, a folding saw, not a toy, will outperform any multi-tool when your life is on the line. Here's a myth that quietly fails more people than you think. The compass. In movies, it's a mystical artifact. Point it north and you're guaranteed to find civilization, or at least the next plot twist. But real navigation is a cruel teacher. A compass is only as good as your ability to read a map, judge distance, and understand the land. Movies never show the hours spent second-guessing your route, the panic when the terrain doesn't match the map, or the creeping dread of being lost. In reality, a compass is a tool, not a guarantee. You need to know how to use it, how to shoot a bearing, how to triangulate your position, and how to trust your senses when the needle wobbles. Another myth that ruins more people than most is shelter. In movies, Hollywood loves the instant tent. Pop it up, crawl inside, and you're safe from the elements. But real survival shelters are about insulation, not just a roof. A thin nylon tent is a wind tunnel in a storm, a sauna in the sun, and a freezer at night. The real trick is understanding microclimates, where the cold air pools, where the wind bites, where the ground will suck the heat from your bones. A tarp and some cordage, used well, can outperform the fanciest tent. Pile up leaves, build a debris hut, use what the land gives you. Now let's talk about the stuff that fails the quietest: signaling and tech. Hollywood loves the dramatic flare gun, the signal mirror, the GPS, the satellite phone. But flares are single use. Mirrors only work if someone's looking, and electronics die fast. GPS is great until you're under thick tree cover, in a canyon, or when the grid goes down. Satellite phones are only as good as their charge and line of sight. I remember once, in a dense forest, I fired a flare after getting separated from my group, waited 20 minutes, battery on my radio dying, and not a soul in sight. That's when you realize the cavalry isn't always coming. The real survivors plan for failure, carry backups, and never trust a single piece of equipment with their life. Let's group some of the sneakier myths. Cordage, paracord, and duct tape. In movies, paracord is a miracle thread, repelling, building, even stitching wounds. Duct tape supposedly fixes everything. In reality, paracord frays, melts, and isn't for climbing. Duct tape peels off in rain, rips skin, and is a tool for improvisation, not a cure-all. The real trick is knowing how to improvise with what you have, not relying on a single piece of gear to solve every problem. Let's talk about water purification straws. The hero plunges one into a muddy puddle, takes a heroic gulp, and walks away unscathed. In reality, those straws have their limits. They're great for emergencies, but they don't filter out viruses, chemicals, or heavy metals. Use one in the wrong place, and you might dodge a stomach bug only to pick up something far worse. Plus, they're single-user, single-purpose, and useless for cooking or storing water. I once watched a guy rely on a life straw in beaver country. 3 days later, he was praying to the porcelain god, doubled over with cramps because the straw didn't filter out the viruses in the water. Meanwhile, the old-timer with a battered metal cup and a habit of boiling every drop was just fine. Emergency mylar blankets, those crinkly silver sheets that are supposed to save you from hypothermia with a single dramatic flourish. In movies, the hero wraps up, instantly warm and safe, no matter how brutal the storm. But here's the cold, shivering truth. Those mylar blankets are better than nothing, but they're not magic. They reflect radiant heat, sure, but they don't insulate. Wrap yourself in one on a freezing night, and you'll quickly learn that wind slices right through, condensation builds up, and the crinkling noise can drive you half mad. High-tech gadgets, night vision goggles, tactical shovels, unbreakable flashlights. Hollywood loves to hand these out like candy, but in a real collapse, batteries die, lenses break, and tactical is just a marketing spell. I've seen so-called indestructible flashlights crack in the cold, shatterproof bottles split at the seam, and knives that were supposed to last a lifetime snap on the first real test. The best gear is simple, reliable, and proven by experience, not by a product placement deal. But wait, it gets worse. Let's talk about the myth of the endless supply cache. In movies, the hero stumbles upon a perfectly preserved bunker, shelves lined with canned food, ammo, and medical supplies. But in reality, caches are rare, and they don't last forever. Food spoils, cans rust, and rodents find their way in. Ammo degrades, medicine expires, and what's left is often a disappointment. The real survivors don't count on luck. They plan, ration, and adapt. They know that every calorie counts, every bullet is precious, and every bandage is a lifeline. The movies make it look easy, but in the real world, survival is a slow grind, not a jackpot. And then there's the myth of the perfect tool for every job. Hollywood heroes always have the right gadget at the right time. A lockpick set, a wire saw, a solar charger. But in reality, you can't carry everything. Every ounce in your pack is a trade-off. The best survivors are masters of improvisation. They use rocks for hammers, sticks for splints, and trash for treasure. They know that the world is full of resources if you know how to look. The movies never show the creativity, the trial and error, the failures that lead to success. But that's the heart of real survival, making do, adapting, and never giving up. Now let's dig into the most dangerous survival myths of all. The ones that don't just get you wet, cold, or hungry, but can quietly kill your chances before you even realize it. These aren't about knives or fire starters. They're about the stories we tell ourselves, the mindsets we inherit from 1,000 movies, and the lies that slip into our packs long before we ever step into the wild. Let's start with the lone wolf fantasy. Hollywood loves the image. One man, one pack, one mission. He trusts no one, needs no one, and somehow outsmarts the apocalypse with nothing but grit and a 1,000-yard stare. But here's the reality. Solo survival is a last resort, not a strategy. In the real world, you need eyes in the back of your head, hands to help build, voices to keep you sane. One person can't gather enough food, keep watch, build shelter, and stay healthy for long. Even the most hardened survivalists know that community is the ultimate force multiplier. The lone wolf myth is seductive, but it's a trap. If you want to survive, find your pack, build trust, and share the load. The world is harsh enough without trying to face it alone. Then there's the myth of the perfect plan. In movies, the hero always has a map, a backup route, a secret cache, and a plan B, C, and D. But in reality, plans fall apart. The weather changes, roads wash out, people panic, and the world throws curveballs you never saw coming. The best survivors aren't the ones with the most detailed plans. They're the ones who adapt, improvise, and pivot when things go sideways.
Flexibility is your real superpower. The ability to let go of a plan that isn't working, to change course without losing your head, is what separates the survivors from the statistics. The movies make it look like you can outsmart chaos. In truth, you have to dance with it. And then there's the quick fix myth. The idea that there's always a miracle cure, a last-minute rescue, a magic pill that stops the infection. But in the real world, survival is a grind. It's slow, it's dirty, and it's full of setbacks. There are no shortcuts. You can't hack your way out of hypothermia, you can't shortcut your way to clean water, and you can't wish away hunger. The real survivors are the ones who keep going, who accept the pain, who find meaning in the struggle. They know that every day is a battle, and every small victory is earned. But the most dangerous myth of all, the one Hollywood sells hardest, is that gear matters more than mindset. The right knife, the right pack, the right gadget, and you're invincible. But the truth is, survival is 90% mental. It's about attitude, adaptability, and the will to keep moving when everything hurts. The best gear in the world won't save you if you panic, freeze, or give up. And I've seen people with $1,000 worth of gear fail because they couldn't handle the boredom, the fear, or the loneliness. And I've seen people with nothing but a pocket knife and a stubborn streak make it out because they refuse to quit. The real survival kit is between your ears. Now that we've busted these myths wide open and reframed your mindset, let's put it all together and shift to the practical side. How do you build a survival kit that actually works in the real world, drawing directly from the lessons of these Hollywood fails? No fluff, no overpriced gadgets, just reliable, lightweight essentials that prioritize adaptability, minimalism, and proven performance.
We'll break it down category by category, with specific recommendations, why they beat the movie myths, and real field stories to show how they save the day. Think of this as your blueprint. Start small, test often, and remember, the goal isn't to look like an action hero, it's to stay alive when the script flips. First, let's tackle cutting tools, since we've already shredded the Rambo knife fantasy. Your core piece should be a 4 to 6 inch fixed blade knife with a full tang, like the Morikniv Timpanion or ESE4. Under $50, carbon steel for easy sharpening, and tough enough for batoning without snapping. Pair it with a small folding saw such as the Silky Pocket Boy, which cuts through branches like butter without the multi-tools compromises. Why this combo? Versatility without fragility. The knife handles fine work like carving or skinning, while the saw tackles heavier chopping that would ruin a blade. I recall a backcountry trip where my buddy's fancy, serrated, movie-inspired knife shattered mid-wood split. He ended up borrowing my simple fixed blade to finish the job. Add a basic sharpener stone, practice weekly, and you'll never be caught dull. Total weight? Under a pound. Comment below, what's your go-to knife, and has it ever failed you? Moving to fire starting, ditching the unreliable Zippo means embracing redundancy with low-tech reliability. Core item, a ferro rod striker kit, like the Überleben Zunden, which throws thousands of sparks, even soaked. Combine it with homemade tinder. Stuff a Ziploc with Vaseline-soaked cotton balls or fat wood shavings. They're free, lightweight, and ignite in wind where lighters fail. For backup, pack waterproof storm matches in a sealed vial, but always prioritize the rod for longevity. In a rainy Pacific Northwest hike, I once spent 45 minutes failing with a Bic until switching to my ferro rod. It sparked a blaze from damp birch bark, turning a miserable night into survival. Test this setup in your backyard. Time yourself starting a fire in bad weather. It's not sexy, but it'll keep hypothermia at bay when Hollywood's dramatic flick fails. Water treatment is next. Forget the hero's untreated stream sip. Focus on multi-method purification. Start with Aquamira chlorine dioxide tablets. Tiny, shelf-stable for years, and they kill viruses where straws fall short. Add collapsible silicone pot for boiling, like the GSI Halulite, which doubles as a cooking vessel. For on the go, a Sawyer mini filter screws onto bottles handling 100,000 gallons without batteries. This trio covers contamination myths head-on. Tablets for quick kills, boiling for foolproof safety, filter for bulk processing. During a desert trek, a group's UV pen died mid-trip, leaving them parched. My simple tablet saved us, treating murky puddle water into drinkable gold. Build redundancy.
carry 2 methods minimum, and practice purifying local sources to know the taste. Iodine isn't for everyone. Mask it with vitamin C packets. For shelter and clothing, bypass the pop-up tent trap with a versatile tarp setup. A 10 by 10 foot sil nylon tarp, like the AquaQuest Defender, weighs ounces, pitches in minutes as an A-frame or lean-to, and beats tents in ventilation. Layer with a wool blanket or synthetic sleeping bag rated to your climate. Merino wool base layers from Smart Wool wick sweat without the cotton death chill. Footwear, waterproof boots like Solomon Quest with good ankle support, plus extra socks. This counters exposure myths by emphasizing insulation and adaptability. Pile leaves under the tarp for ground padding. On a winter campout, my tent mate froze in his thin nylon setup. My tarp with debris insulation kept me toasty at 20 below. Question: what's your shelter essential and how do you insulate it? Navigation and signaling. Ditch the magic compass for a reliable Suunto A10 baseplate model paired with a waterproof topo map of your area. For signaling, a whistle like the Fox 40 is louder than shouts and doesn't drain batteries. Add an ACR Rescue Link PLB for true emergencies, satellite-based, no subscription needed. This setup beats tech fails by blending low-tech with smart high-tech. Learn bearings first, then use GPS apps as backup. I got lost in fog once. My compass and map got me out. A buddy's phone died, leaving him circling. Practice, hike off trail weekly using only analog tools. Food and first aid round it out. Stock calorie-dense rations, pemmican bars or Cliff bars, high fat and protein, plus foraging guides for edibles like pine needles for vitamin C tea. Medkit, focus on basics: gauze, quick clot for bleeds, ibuprofen, and tweezers in a waterproof pouch. Avoid trauma myths with prevention. Include blister moleskin and duct tape for repairs. In a multi-day outing, our groups can feast spoiled. My jerky and nuts sustained us. Customize. Rotate stock every 6 months. Finally, integrate mindset. Weigh your kit under 20 pounds. Test in simulations. Overnight backyard challenges reveal weaknesses. This isn't about buying more. It's about practicing with less. What's your kit's weak spot? Share in comments. So if you take one thing from this deep dive, let it be this. Hollywood sells you gear. Reality demands skills, adaptability, and unbreakable will. The world is unpredictable, unforgiving, and often unfair, but it's also full of opportunity if you know how to look. The best gear is the gear you know how to use, the skills you've practiced, and the mindset you bring to the fight. Forget the Hollywood myths, learn the real lessons, and remember, when the credits roll and the lights go out, the only thing that matters is your will to survive. Drop a like if any of these myths surprised you. Comment your most overrated piece of survival gear, and if you want part 2 where I show real recommended kits under $200, real-life survival stories, or field testing these failures, smash that notification bell. The truth is always more interesting than fiction, and if you ever find yourself out there, alone and unprepared, remember, the world doesn't care about your gear. It cares about your will to survive, and that, my friend, is something no movie can fake.